So a life of celebration, what areas in our lives can we think about that will help us to be a people of celebration? And I've just got 3 areas here and I just want to expound on them. And the first one is positivity, being positive. Okay, now I know that's hard. The earth is like, it has gravity in it, and gravity means seriousness. So we're pulled down all the time, aren't we? If we don't make an effort, we are pulled down the whole time. So positivity. Did you know, if you're born again today and the Spirit of God lives inside of you, that you are a citizen of heaven living here on earth? Okay, you're not somebody who's going to go to heaven when you die. Positionally, you are already there. You are a citizen of heaven. And you know what? Heaven is founded on celebration. What is heaven celebrating? That the Lamb was slain so that the children of God could be free and come home. Okay, that's just a small bit. I mean, you can't, you could spend the whole day talking about and making lists of what heaven is celebrating. I mean, the whole culture of heaven is celebration. There are no negatives in heaven. Have you thought about that? No negatives in heaven. Okay, so we are a people of positivity. If the Spirit of God lives inside of us, which Pat made sure we knew about that. I don't know where he's gone now, but he was preaching on that last week. The Spirit of God lives inside of us. We are a people of positivity. So, on this earth, wherever there is a negative, there has to be a positive. Okay? The world was founded on positivity, negativity came in, but positivity is still here. So there has to be positive everywhere there's a negative. And the science which man's discovered only reflects God. And I'm not very good at algebra. I know my son is fairly good at algebra, but I have found out some things about algebra, okay? And first of all, which surprised me. First of all, you've got your pluses and your minuses, okay? And a negative plus another negative becomes a positive. A negative minus a negative becomes a positive. A negative multiplied by a negative becomes a positive. And a negative divided by a negative becomes a positive. So I can see God in that. I don't know if you can, but I sure can. I think that's wonderful. And, a negative attracts a positive as well. There's so much stuff like, that God has made the world, the way he's made it, the science and everything, it just reflects him. And I think that's wonderful. So, how about us, when we feel negative? I tell you what happens. We think, because this is the way the world works, we think that when we have a negative, we have to do something about it. We have to work on the negative to try to solve it. That's our first, response. And I know even in the world, even everywhere, people say, positive thinking, and all this business. Don't think on the negative, think on the positive. But generally speaking, that's what we tend to do. Is, like for instance in relationships, if there's a problem in a relationship, we tend to try and deal with that problem. Why don't we just forget the problem and look at the positives? One of the ways of dealing with the negative is to ignore it and look for the positive and work on that. And if you don't know where the positive is, you only just got to ask God and he'll show you. I'm sure he'd be delighted to show you. But when you try to work on a negative, it's like you give it power. You strengthen that negative. And you by concentrating on it, you prove that it exists, which it does, but you give it that power and life. So, if you've got to think about that on your own situation, and let your negative be replaced by a positive.